recently I had the very, very good fortune of being invited to attend a UFC event. Now, as many of you know, I spend a lot of time here in Vegas, and guess what? There's a lot of UFC events held here in Vegas, so that works pretty much to my advantage. But this particular UFC fight, which I went to see live, was quite a spectacle, and I believe quite a groundbreaking moment for martial artists, and certainly the martial art instructors that I coach and work with. It really was quite a profound moment. Something very, very interesting happened. Traditional karate was actually placed in the spotlight. It gets even better than that. Not only was traditional karate placed in the spotlight at this UFC event, but the person who fought representing traditional karate actually went on to win the UFC light heavyweight title. That's right, a traditional karate guy who's practicing kata in the promo goes on to win the UFC light heavyweight championship. Now, what does that all mean to you and I? Well, I personally think it means a lot of things. First of all, it re-establishes a certain amount of credibility to the martial arts industry, and more so the traditional martial arts industry, so people begin to recognize there's real value in learning traditional martial arts. There are about 10,000 people in attendance at this live event. Now, I was actually comped my ticket, but the price of my seat, get ready for this, was $400. Now, I'd like to say that I was on the ground floor. The truth of it all is, I was actually way, way back in the stands. When I mean way back, I'm talking way back in the stands. Now, I did have a great seat and the view was awesome, but in the MGM Grand Arena, the view is awesome from most of the seats. But needless to say, I was way back, and this seat cost $400. Looking around at the other 10,000 people in attendance, do the math on that, ladies and gentlemen, began to realize that the cost of this seat was actually the cost of a basic program in most martial arts schools, if it was prepaid. So there were 10,000 people in this arena. More to the point, there were probably more people in this arena watching this martial arts event than there were possibly training in the whole of Las Vegas. I couldn't be for sure that that's true, but my guesstimate is that I'm pretty close. There's probably less than 10,000 people training in a martial arts school actively in Las Vegas. And in concert with that, there were 10,000 people watching this live event, all of which had paid somewhere in the region of a minimum of 200 plus, more likely an average of $300 per ticket, ranging from, I think ringside probably went up to 3,000 or 4,000. That doesn't include, of course, the people that were at home watching the event. So on average, the UFC right now, I believe, on a pay-per-view event is getting around anywhere between 500,000 to 1 million people click on their pay-per-view to watch a UFC event. Now, what does all this mean to you in your martial arts business, running a martial arts school? Hey, you'll probably listen to this thinking, well, Master Charles, sounds all well and good for you, but I run a very traditional karate school. Well, if you paid any attention to what I've been saying in the last 15 minutes, one of your fellow traditional karatekas has just won the UFC light heavyweight championship. And he did it in amazing style. And really his even style of fighting is more like traditional style of what I used to fight in Wuko karate. Now, the point I'm trying to make is this, is everybody speaks about both the positive and negative effects of having MMA in the marketplace, or even the positive or negative effects right now of being in the martial arts market. And I've been an advocate for many months now of reminding you all that you are in an incredible business right now. The next day, when I go to Kinko's or when I went out to my local restaurant, people were talking about the previous night's fight, how it went, who won, who was fighting, what the outcome was. So even the people who didn't get to see the fight or the match were still asking about the outcome of the fight. So people can say that you can be lucky in business. People can say to you, you know what, that when you got into the martial arts business, it was a great time. Well, I can tell you folks, when I started my martial arts business, it was in the early 90s. I don't know if some of you can remember that far back. I certainly can. And I remember that interest rates were at 15%. 15% interest rates. Translation, most people were going into, guess what, foreclosure in the housing market. Does this ring any bells? Let me tell you folks, my martial arts business, when I opened it originally in 91, absolutely exploded. And it had nothing to do with the economy, it was the way that I marketed the business. Now I guess at the time, having known very little about marketing, I was pretty lucky. But I also can remember working insanely hard to market my business. I was one of the first people to have my vehicles logoed up. I was one of the first people to be walking around in a town centre with my martial arts uniform on, getting and encouraging people to participate in the martial arts business. And I guess some people can say it was lucky. I guess for me, the harder I worked, the luckier I got. Now, the reason why I'm going into this week, and it's particularly important about building your business from the inside out, is really because I want to emphasize that timing in the business is everything. Just like if you trade stocks, and I'm not going to go into the stock market, but let me tell you folks, there's millions and millions of dollars, trillions of dollars being made on the stock market right now, as the market is as volatile as it is, which what I want to point out is a perfect time for you to be involved in the martial arts business. For most part, most if not all of your competition is hurting. Hey, you may even be hurting, so it's time to fake it till you make it. And go out there with all guns blazing and understand that now is a perfect time to promote your martial arts business. There has never been a more perfect time. The martial arts is never receiving more TV time than it ever has done ever before. There are TV commercials featuring little kids in martial arts uniforms. I watched a weight loss commercial just the other day. I think it's about the gastric band, and in the whole profile of this advertisement is basically about how a man wants to relate to his kid and wants to come to martial arts classes with his child so he can better relate to his child. What a fantastic advertisement that is for martial arts. Listen guys and girls out there, you need to be aware of this incredible time there is in the martial arts industry. You need to be getting off your backside. And last week I gave you a solution, an incredible solution to all of your challenges that you have in the martial arts business. I'll tell you why it's a solution. Because there isn't one problem that you have right now that can't be solved by you recruiting just one new member today in your martial arts business. And then doing what? Going out tomorrow and recruiting another new member. Pretty much irrelevant of the type of systems you have in your school. If you consistently enroll one new member per day, you are going to have a relatively successful martial arts business. I hope this has been useful, folks. Wakey wakey.